Hey everybody, welcome back to the Spin Rack. I'm here with my boy Cal. Say what's up, Cal.
Hey, what's going on? Ready to rock.
And today we're going to be reviewing All of Us Are Dead. This is his new South Korean horror series, zombie series that's just been hitting all of Netflix, hitting the whole world right now. And I got to say, it's a very interesting thing. Before we get into it, we're going to show a brief trailer, and then we're going to just give you our opinion of the show so far. So he gets in high school.
바이러스란 살아남고자 하는 본능을 지능을 뛰어넘고 인류는 바이러스와의 싸움에서 단 한 번도 이긴 적이 없어. 그럼 교과서가 틀린 거예요?
That's a science teacher. That's the first person who's infected. Crazy, they gave the train to Busan reference, which was a very successful Korean zombie based off of a train.
바이러스. 감염된 인간은 극한의 공포심을 느낀 후에 오직 살기 위해 상대를 공격한다. 인간을 우치면 괴물이 돼서라도 살아남아라. 죽을 거야. 희망 같은 거 갖지 마요.
Absolute nuts, bro.
제 옆에 도와주세요. 죄송합니다. 가리 기다리고 있어요.
Whoa.
손 놓지 마. 놓치지도 말고.
So that's the trailer, and we are going to go into the review. And I just got to tell you there may be some spoilers for some of these early episodes. We're going to do episodes 1 through 3 right now, just a general overview. And hey, I'll tell you what it is. I got to say, this show is off the chain. I was not expecting it. The Train to Busan was different. That's basically where you have zombies on a train and people going from train car to train car. Here, it's all the setting is in a high school, and it's crazy because you're like, they haven't really done that. You're like, they haven't really done a whole focus on a high school. They've done like they've been in different parts, but overall, just like the train, a different look. So, very very surprised. But let's just overall, what's your impressions on this whole thing, Cal?
I liked the initial concept that it was going to be in high school, and then I was disappointed when some of it kind of bled outside of the high school. So, you know, I really wanted to see, okay, we're just going to keep this localized to high school, even if it's more of like a private high school where you have, a campus, you have grounds, that type of stuff, and they're fighting literally from the cellar to the roof, those type of things. But aside of that, what can I say? They're working all of the drama. It seems like a standard Korean fare. They're working all of the drama at the end of the day. I was shocked when you told me this was 12 episodes. I was like, really? They're going to be able to get 12 episodes out of this? But I'm past episode 3, and I was like, well, you know what? They just might do it.
Yeah, I'm also past episode 3, but it's pretty wild. Like, let's start off at the very beginning. So this basically starts off, and you see there's 2 big things. One, you see the bullying. I mean, I don't know if this is really something in Korean culture or whatever, but in a lot of these movies that I see out of Korea, there's bullying, and some of it is like just so freaking intense. Here there's some physical bullying that just kind of threw me off. Like, I'm like, what the fudge? Like they were beating this kid up, and so the son of the scientist that we see here, the guy who's with the police who's talking about, he actually, I guess, accidentally infects his son. He does an experiment with mice. So again, this is going to be spoiler, whereby he noticed that some mice, when they're fighting a cat, they sometimes lose their fear of the cat. And so what he did is that he tried to grab some of the adrenaline from those mice and then try to give it to his son who was constantly being bullied. And of course, it had like a weird effect, which of course made him like a zombie. He dies or he's about to die. And what happens, it gives him increased strength and stuff like that, but he wants to kill people. And it's bananas. But what ends up happening, he kept the mouse. And this is the craziest thing. He kept the mouse in the school. He's a school science teacher. And some girl goes in there and gets bit, and then it just starts spreading. So he knew about this whole thing. He kept the whole thing with his son's secret. I killed him. But the girl, he chains her up and she breaks out. And then she starts infecting the whole school. So that's where you have everybody getting infected. It's like, what the hell? I mean, what did you think about that whole premise? That he got this whole adrenaline from the mice injected into his son. And, that's what made him go into become a zombie.
Well, hey, it's no more far-fetched than getting DNA out of a fly that's been trapped in amber for millions of years. And they've been making clones of dinosaurs. That's just how we need a reason for people to be running around like zombies. That was the reason they gave us. It's fair enough at the end of the day. I've read that. I'm familiar with the study that they're talking about with the prey, attacking the predator, those sorts of things. And a lot of times it buys them just enough time because the predator's kind of like, what? You're actually attacking? And in that moment where they're shocked and surprised, the prey can run. Gives them a chance to actually run. But they rarely turn the whole thing around. They really turn the whole thing around where they're gonna fight, they fight them off or they're gonna beat them. It's like, no, that's just like that it's almost like a last ditch effort for them to get away. But I thought the study is interesting. He went into another one that I was also familiar with where a virus goes into a prey type animal to the point where it will do something contrary to its survival. So, and I've seen that before, where like literally where you have like a mouse that falls in love with the cat, and of course that's opposite to what would happen, but they have some studies like that are pretty interesting. So the premise, at least for me, is like, okay, good, this gets us started. We got the zombies. Let's see where we go from here. And then of course it's less about the zombies. I mean, oh man, Ramiro would be totally angry. He was like, what happened to all the stuff I laid out for you guys? You guys this isn't about zombies. This is about teen angst and all this other type of stuff that it is. But some of the stuff is just, the bullying I just found to be extreme. I'm like, what high schools are these people going to? How can any of this stuff go on in perpetuity? I went to high school like everybody else, secondary school like everybody else. And it just wasn't this bad. It's just not, at least not for me. It just wasn't this bad. And then you look here and it's like, literally these kids are coming in and like from start to finish, hey, come over here. And I got you in a yoke. I'm throwing you up against the wall, beating you around. I'm calling you names. But the one that really got me was when the girl infected the other guy because she had that much antipathy for him, for being like alive, it seems. Like how dare you even be alive, you wealthy, as she was calling him. That sort of stuff, just extreme. But other than that, it's been, it's a fun ride. I think these are some of the worst people to ever be in a zombie apocalypse that I've seen, because they can't run for 5 feet without slipping or falling. That's the more hilarious thing. Is like, how do you guys? I said, you guys should be zombie food by now. But it does make it, at least that gives me something to chuckle at. I'm not certain if that's the reaction they wanted, but I get a little bit of chuckle.
Yeah, I agree. And especially that scene with the girl who basically said, hey, she was being bullied and they took off her shirt and they were recording her. And this guy tried to save her from that. And she went back and she says, no, I'm not going to go with you. It's better if I go back in to continue to be abused, because it'll be worse if I don't. I'm like, what? And then later on, she actually survived and she's actually on the roof of the building. And, she's like, we're losers, because she's talking to one of the guys who was getting bullied, and we're losers. And, that's why, nobody's with us. And then everybody turned into zombies. She basically said, hey, we're still losers because everybody has changed and we're still the same. I'm like, what the fudge is the matter with this chick? But yeah, we digress. this series is pretty interesting because it really focuses on probably what 4 kids really, and everybody else. I'm gonna butcher their names, and should I butcher them or should I just skip it? All right. So one kid is.
Yeah, you. Why would you? No, don't do it. I've dealt with such name butchering over the years. Don't.
Okay, so I'll leave it. So there are 4 kids, and basically 2 of them are friends, and they kind of like each other. And there's another dude, I guess. One girl who's like the school class president, her mother bought her the position. I don't know how you could buy class president position, but supposedly she got that, and nobody really respects her position. And there's a dude who's like a real popular guy. And so those are basically the 4 main characters, and they're going through all this stuff. They're showing natural leadership roles. But I mean, you also see how close they are to their friends and stuff. And there's something interesting I read about the director. The director said he put these kids together for a while to rehearse and become friends, so he wanted to develop that relationship. Most of them are basically unknown actors that they brought together. And you're like, wow. Because I think they do pull off a pretty good job, in the sort of that. I do believe in the couple. I do believe that there's some angst. I do believe that this is, it's high school and a lot of stuff going on. And I think they do a good job of doing it. The only thing is that they can't seem to get off the campus, because they're all trapped. They're trapped in the building, in the school building. And it's excellent when the director did. So all around, outside in the park, in the schoolyard, it's all surrounded by zombies. So of course, naturally, you're stuck in the building, and within the building, different floors and different places are also overrun with zombies. So you have to go into a room and barricade yourself, and that's where the whole dynamic between, like you said, teen angst comes in, because they have to deal with one another, and some of them don't. And even then, there's bullying also on a class level, where like this one girl, she absolutely hates this one guy because she calls him a welfare, basically someone who receives welfare, and that he moved into her building and that he was dirty and filthy. And even when she said that he was turning, and he was not turning, she refused to apologize. And then to prove that she was right to the group, everybody thought she was wrong. She infected the dude with a wet zombie blood on a scratch that he had, therefore making him turn, which is crazy. That is some crazy stuff. What was your take?
Twisted. Well, no, that scene, again, I think that scene made for really good drama at the end of the day, because this chick has such antipathy towards this guy. Okay, not just being wrong, but like he doesn't deserve to live, according to her. It's just really, that was a really wild scene. But I thought, again, well done. With the team stuff that you have going on, because you literally have teams who are like that when it comes to these other people, especially when you have that hierarchy of rich and poor in certain schools, which this school definitely has.
Yeah, definitely. You also see the bullies. They're surviving. It's surprising that the bad guys always seem to survive somehow, right? Because I guess it's just they have their mean streak, and they just and you look at this in other zombie genres. That you have. I watching Walking Dead, Fear the Dead, The World Out There. Or George Romero movies, and it's always good that they have zombie systems rules, because once you start going out of bounds with the rules, it starts getting just totally crazy. And in this, so far from what I've seen, the zombies are, they're crazy. Once you totally turn, you're basically out to kill people or eat people. They usually just do a bite. I don't see them doing more than that. And it's consistent. I've seen some stuff where the zombies are crazy. The only issue I had with that was, of course, just taking a napkin and giving the zombie blood to somebody. I always thought it was going to have to be a bite, but I guess it was something that they had to do to show how messed up this girl was. That she was going to do this. So yeah, it's crazy. But overall, I think it was. I'm very interested. I think I'm gonna definitely push through and see if I can see the rest of the episodes, because it's definitely something worth seeing. And the first 2 episodes are truly basically localized to the school. But by the 3rd episode, you're starting to get out of the whole town. One of the main characters, her father is she says a fireman, but I guess he's more an emergency response person. He's an ambulance driver, he's a captain in the fire department, which of course is part of the ambulance.
Well, they say. I'm gonna presume, because this is Korea, that what they call a firefighter may not necessarily fall in line with what we're used to here in the States. Right. But say firefighter, so I'm like, okay, you're a firefighter. I look at the gear they got on, and I'm like, I don't say fight fire that.
Exactly. I think it's just emergency response personnel probably would be better. Because here in the States, in New York, for example, you have the EMT, the paramedics, those guys they're a part of the whole fire department. And,
yeah, but we have a clear delineation between firefighter and EMT.
Yeah,
clear delineation. Here it's just like, because even at one point where he was standing up for one of his colleagues saying he's a firefighter, not a kid. And I'm like, okay, these guys are firefighters, but looking at the outfits, and they look more ready to go on the Star Trek Enterprise than they go to go fight a fire. So I'm like, okay.
I know.
But it's different. You go out, different countries, different stuff, different terms, different things.
So one thing that's pretty interesting too is that this is again like the Train for Busan. The Koreans seem to get in their movies like they localize it to a degree. Localize and they fight back and they try to turn it. In the U.S., like The Walking Dead, The Fear of the Walking Dead, the U.S. tries to fight and they lose. The whole thing goes just crazy. But here you see that there are measures taking place and people are trying to do things to stop it. The authorities are still somewhat in control. In the United States, we don't actually see that. Usually what's happening, we're seeing it from especially the Walking Dead franchise, you're seeing after the effect. What happens? The zombies have just exploded. It's just taking over. This is it, While here, it's actually happening real time and there are people trying to put a lid on it. So right now, I think the name of the town is Haesung. Again, I'm sorry if I butcher it. And they're trying to localize it. And so far, it seems pretty good that they're localizing it. I'm not sure if it's going further where they get nationalized or whatever, but they're keeping it small and local versus the school. Now the town is starting to be overrun. I'm going to see how much further they're able to do and what they're able to do. But for me, I think it's a thumbs up. I think it's definitely something that people should go out there and take a look at. What's your take on that, Cal?
That was a little choppy. Can you say that again?
I said I think that I think it's something that we definitely want to take a look at. I'm going to continue watching this, and I suggest people who can get out there and watch the show too.
I'm going to keep watching this because I am interested. 1 and 2. There's really nothing better on right now. So hey, they got me.
All right then. So hey, thanks for listening. If you like what you heard, please give it a thumbs up, comment. Hey, subscribe. Spin a rack.
One other thing I'll say before we wrap. One of the smartest things I think Netflix has done is to have that top 10 list that they have. These are the top 10 shows on Netflix, because it takes a lot. I can't tell you how many shows I have watched simply because they're in that top 10 and it looks like it might be interesting, as opposed to me searching for something new or looking for something or other. You look through this stuff and you'll have something with the title. Like they have something with Kristen Bell that I was looking at, but then I ended up watching this instead. But I think that's a really smart idea, because you go in, it's top 10. It's like, oh, it's number 3. Oh, it's top 10. People are watching it. Well, maybe I'll give it a shot and see what it is. Before you know, you've already watched 12 episodes of this.
Well, I mean, that's a plus and minus. There's some people who complain that when you have the numbers up, what happens, it just reinforces it. So people are watching it even more because they say, oh, everybody else is watching, so they start watching it. As opposed to them saying, hey, let me go see what I can watch, and therefore. So all you do is just reinforce the fact that people are watching this, and it just encourages more and more. So you don't get to really see other things that are out there. That's a whole nother argument. That's not for us. It's something they've been complaining about and their algorithm for quite some time for YouTube in terms of videos and stuff like that.
Agreed.
So, hey, Spinnerack
out.